Welcome to the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Kathan, and joining us in the MindGrow studio all the way from Australia tonight is Anna Neve. She's a mother, a survivor, and a guide for parents ready to break generational patterns. From overcoming early adversity to transforming her relationship with her own children, Anna shares her bold journey of healing, connection, and family transformation. Tune in for inspiration, practical insights, and a heartfelt story of resilience. Please help me welcome Anna Neve. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Wonderful to have you here. Anna and I actually connected several months ago on a book project, and that book is coming out tomorrow, and it's called
Woohoo.
Unbreakable. And we are just so excited. And part of that story is how you were able to really become unbreakable with your journey. And I know that life didn't always look like it does for you in this moment. Tell us a little bit about how you got here and what started you on this path.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a part of me has always been on this path in one way or another. However, the intensity for it probably arose from watching my kids go through some intense bullying back when they were in mainstream schooling. And some health issues and all that sort of thing, and watching them just struggle through life at what should have been the peak of their life, really. And so it was through that journey that I went, something has to change here. We have to shift this, and we have to shift it quickly. And knowing full well that any great change for a family has to come from the parents first. And so, yeah, really deep dived into my own healing, my own growth, so that I could step into the mother that they deserve to have, and help them transform into the kids and the thriving kids that they deserve to be as well.
So I know that um, just because I know you and the conversations that we've had together, part of that saying yes to breaking those patterns kind of went against the grain of what the popular belief
Mm.
is in society. And how were you able to manage that? First up, back up just a little bit and tell us a little bit about the dive that you took, because it was a faith dive. And it's one of the things that I really, really admire about you and appreciate about you so much is that your willingness to like walk in the fire, and you really did. And on the other side of that was not only transformation, but it was a generational impact that you were able to make.
Mm. Yeah, well, there's been many face dives in life, really, from domestic violence to complicated family dynamics and um, unhealthy relationship patterns and all the rest of it. And so I guess it's through the fire that we sort of either sink or swim, I suppose. And I just, yeah, repeatedly chose to persevere. Probably my faith played a big part in that, of just believing that even though in the hardships, it was like, how on earth could a God possibly exist through this? How on earth could He allow this to happen? I know that that's a big question that a lot of people ask during their hard times. However, it was really then a shift in the mindset of, well, maybe it's not so much about me. Maybe this scenario isn't about me, but maybe I'm meant to experience this to be able to help somebody else's journey and help their experience be just that little bit easier. And so I started looking at things from a perspective, instead of why me, of probably more, how can I use this to create impact? And now I have the wonderful blessing of being able to use all of the experiences that I've had in life, good and bad, to be able to help other women to create intense shifts in their life. There's been sessions that I've had with mums where they've been explaining their particular fire, I guess, that they're going through, and I've been able to draw connections for them back to like probably root causes in their childhood, and they've been able to go, oh my gosh, light bulb moment, I had no idea. I never would have thought to, connect the dots in that way. But a lot of the time, unless we do this hard work, and it is hard work to create, the generational change, but it's absolutely necessary and worth it, I believe. And so in through doing that, their relationships with their kids have been able to dramatically shift. And it is in that sometimes going back and reflecting, but not from the light of getting stuck back in that trauma, but just from being able to view it from a slightly different light, to make sense of things. Because I know a lot of the time we carry those stories of shame along with us, and that's probably one of my big ones that I carried right up until this year, actually. And it's been in the shifting of that story that I've now been able to completely pivot and speak into my kids' lives from a whole new perspective, with a whole new intensity as well behind me to make sure that they start off with a different narrative, because it's through that work that we shift these generational patterns. It's an intense fire within my belly to go, okay, all those things that happened down the family line. Some of these things I've only learned in the last 12 months since the sudden passing of my dad. And it's in the reflection of all of that where I go, okay, that's enough. That stops with this family. The family line is taking a new direction, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. And I want to just touch on something that you mentioned, which is the shame. And
hmm
from my own experience, I I understand that survivors of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, which I don't know if that was your case, that was mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Those kinds of things, there's a lot of shame around that because you look at yourself as
hmm
a failure. Like, why didn't I do better? Or if I had been different, maybe this wouldn't have happened to me. Or like we tell all
hmm
sorts of shame stories to and about
hmm
ourselves. What is something, a tip or a tool or a strategy that you could share that might help somebody who's also in that fire right now to help them be able to shift those stories from one of shame to one of survivor and more?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely a combination of different parts of my story as well. And so a big thing, and as I say, it's only been in the last 12 months that it has truly shifted, I'd say almost completely. I don't doubt that there'll be moments where the shame story will pop up over the coming years, but at least now I have the tools to be able to address it quicker. But I guess the biggest thing that I found for me this year was a case of, so to cut long story short, probably my biggest shame story was the fact that I'm a full-time single mum. I wasn't able to have the boys' dads in their life. And so in the last 12 years, I've been carrying that shame with me that it was my fault and I wasn't good enough, and that my boys deserved better and that I'd failed them. They were sort of the shame stories that I was carrying, right? And it wasn't until writing this book, which comes out tomorrow, which is very exciting, where I finally have learnt that actually that is me still choosing to give my power to the other person. And after 12 years, I know without a shadow of a doubt, having reconnected with one of these people in particular, that they haven't blinked an eye over those 12 years about it. And so, why am I still giving my power away to these people when they've moved on with their life, they've done their own thing, and at the end of the day, like I stuck around and I did the hard yards with my kids. I've raised two beautiful boys, who I regularly get feedback, from how incredible they are, and that people can't believe, the life that we've developed given our circumstances. And so it's been a real shifting of the narrative from, well, I was a failure and I was never good enough and all the rest of it, to actually, I'm not sorry that I went through it anymore. And I'm not sorry that, I mean, there's an element that I'm sorry that they don't have a dad, if that makes sense. But it's not from a shame perspective anymore. It's from a, well, actually, I am so grateful that you are here. I am so grateful that God blessed me with you and that we have this incredible life together. And I'm so grateful that I, get to parent you, and that it's created a identity shift, I guess, from that feeling lack and speaking into that lack that we don't have, a male figure in the household, to actually, well, look at us, look at what we've achieved, look at what we're doing. There's a lot of two-parent households that don't have the things that we're doing, they don't have the moral standards that we do, and that sort of thing. And so it's just those small little adjustments from, oh, well, that was really rubbish that I went through that, to actually, this is like our power. This is something that we get to put out into the universe and go, hey, you can get smacked in the face repeatedly by life,
Mm.
and you can still choose to rise above it rather than sink and get bitter. It's all a mindset thing. It's a choice that we get to make, and ultimately, I think it comes down to whether we want to continue to carry that shame for us, which then will unintentionally get passed down onto our children, and that will become their narrative. Or do we want to take a new pathway and go, you know what? Yes, that was rubbish. That nobody deserves to go through those things. There's nothing that anyone could do to deserve to go through domestic violence, sexual abuse, all of the things. There's nothing that justifies that. However, we can develop a mindset of, you know what, that was not okay. I did not deserve that. And I'm going to choose to a different way forward. I'm going to choose to let that shame go, because often in those sorts of situations, there's a lot that's outside of our control. A lot of,
Mm.
when if you look at sexual abuse, usually that's a power dynamic if someone else has taken their power and enforced it upon you without your consent. And so in recounting those sorts of stories for myself, I know it's become a narrative shift of, well, I had no control in that situation. However, I have control now, and that means that I'm no longer going to let that person dictate my life, even though they haven't been in my life for however many years. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, it does, because I know with my exes, I've had more than one. Um,
Yeah.
like they haven't been in my life for years and years and years, and they took up real estate in my brain for a really long time.
Mm,
So it doesn't, the length of time that you're like removing yourself from the people is good, and they don't have to take up that space in your brain either. And the thing that
mm,
was really powerful for me was being able to shift from that victim mindset, because I was there for a very long time, not
yeah.
realizing that there was a choice, not realizing that
Hmm.
there was something I could do, a decision I could make that would lessen that and shift that. Can you talk
Hmm.
about the mindset of the victim for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The mindset of the victim for me is soul destroying. Uh,
Mm,
we allow it to, just deplete us in every aspect of our life. It halts us, or it halted me, if I speak from personal experience, it halted me from being able to step into my authentic self. It's halted me from being able to break those unhealthy relationship patterns because I just believed that that's all that I deserved. I believed that every relationship that I was gonna have was gonna end in disaster in one way or
Hmm.
another, you know, in varying degrees of severity, but always believed that I was going to end up hurt in some quite decent way. And so unintentionally having that mindset created that reality for myself. And then it created a similar mindset in my kids as well, which is what was scary. In the last 12 months, realizing that continuing to allow those thought patterns to go down the negative train road, you know, my boys had developed a mindset that they were lacking in life as well because we
Hmm.
didn't have a man in the house. And so it was in realizing that I was yet not actually creating a narrative shift for them that broke my heart initially. Initially fed that shame story, initially fed that victim mindset of all the things.
Hmm.
However, it was then, you know, realizing, and society doesn't teach us this, that we do have a choice. You know,
Mm.
we get to choose our thoughts. We get to choose the people that we allow into our lives as well, even down to family as well. You know, I know some people put up with toxic family situations as well, and it's been a big learning curve over the last 12 months that boundaries is a good thing. Boundaries are healthy. Um, and they're necessary in life, in every aspect of life as well. And so it's been through, yeah, those developing very firm boundaries because over the years I'd sort of dabbled in trying to make these shifts. But I've never been great at following through on boundaries because of the ingrained I guess, mentality that I had of people pleasing as a result of the victimhood that I'd lived in for a long time. I don't like drama or conflict. So I'd fall into, even though what was happening to me would be wrong, I'd fall into people pleasing.
Right.
Whereas now it's a case of actually, no, I need boundaries. I deserve better. I know without a shadow of a doubt in my core now the basics that every human deserves. And I embody that, you know, daily. And so if a situation now arises, it's a case of, you know what? No, you don't get to speak to me like that. If you want to be a part of my life, this is the boundary, and I don't have a problem enforcing it. And it's through doing that that my kids are now learning that actually, hey, yeah, okay, we don't have what I guess society would describe as a normal family of mum, dad, and children. However, we are still blessed and we are still more than enough. And that is where the beauty lies now, not in the shame, not in the victimhood, and that's what our kids, just as much as us, we need. We need that identity shift from the shame and the victimhood into, well, no, what you went through is not okay. Nobody ever deserves that. There's nothing that could justify deserving that and that being okay. And yet at the same time, you can choose to stop giving your power away to those situations and to those people because they do exactly. I love what you said about them taking up space, rent in your mind, space in your mind, because we
Yeah.
do. We let them take up space for a significant period of time, way beyond the event. And there is an element of time that plays a part in healing. I don't believe that there's a specific timeline or a point where we ever fully arrive. However, it is really important to make that conscious decision of that happened, that wasn't okay. However, it is not a life sentence and it no longer deserves to define me.
I love that. I love that. And I can't believe that this conversation has gone so fast. Every time we hang out together, the time flies. And
It
I love
does.
that too. I mean, I love the energy that you bring. It just makes it just like I'm so enthralled in the conversation. I'm like, it just goes by in a blink.
No, thank
And
you.
the next thing that went by in a blink was this book that's getting released tomorrow. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. We're so excited about it. It's called Unbreakable. You will be able to find it all over the place. over the next few days, it's going to be only 99 cents on Kindle. And I will have the link for you in the description of this video so you can go check it out. We would love your support. And Anna, what parting words would you have of advice for somebody who may be feeling that fire? They want change. They know that they need change in their lives, yet they are afraid to move forward.
Mm. The biggest thing is that you are worthy. You are so, so worthy of a life of peace, of a life of joy, of a life of beauty. And change is scary. It definitely is. I'm walking through that at the moment as I'm about to move house. However, yeah, it comes back to that every time that you are worthy of an incredible life. And what has happened, whatever you've been through, you don't deserve to be chained to that forever. It can be a dot on your timeline, a moment that creates a shift in your life, and it can become a power story in your hands, in your control. And I think it's time that a lot of us start to own that power and step into, yeah, our God-given life purpose, because goodness knows that there's enough, negativity in society right now.
Right.
And so, yeah, just if you don't have the supports around you, reach out to people. There's people like Stephanie and myself, and I know there's a lot of other people who are doing this sort of incredible work, and we are more than happy to, put out our hand and be the light until you can embrace that light for yourself. Because I know sometimes we don't yet have the strength to embrace that light for ourselves. So to have somebody else holding a lantern for us until we can hold it for ourselves is powerful. And so the more of us that can step up and hold that lantern for the person beside us and the people in our communities, the quicker that that light will spread.
Oh, I love that so much. Anna, let people know where they can go to learn more about you and tap into the energy that you bring to the world.
Thank you. So my business is called Chosen Warrior. So you can head to chosenwarrior.com.au, or on Instagram it is a.chosen.warrior as well for my profile there. I would absolutely love to connect and always open to having a chat and helping people where I can.
I love that. It's been so fun being on this journey with you, not just here on the show, but writing the book. And I'm so thankful that I get to connect with you and now travel this amazing, unbreakable journey with you. I've loved what you shared today. Everybody, please go check out Anna, tap into her brilliance, tune into her wisdom because she's got gems to share all over the place. And I know you will love her as much as I do. You'll love being around her and just basking in the light that she brings. Anna, thank you so much for joining us here on the MindGrow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Kathan. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance. Bye bye, everybody.
Guys.